Here's your weather video for this Sunday, August the 15th. I'm meteorologist Bill Murray. We're talking tropics this morning. Fred and Grace, the story in the Weather Center. And we see the remnants of Tropical Storm Fred. Boy, that's a flashback. Tropical Storm Fred there over the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. Beginning to see some banding features in the radar here. Taking on that familiar shrimp shape. Indicating that it's getting organized back into a tropical cyclone. Now, is the center here? Hurricane Center has it designated there right now, but it could be here. And the difference there of about a degree in latitude and longitude makes a huge difference in where the center ends up on the Gulf Coast. If it's over here, it's probably Gulf Shores, Pensacola. If it's over here, it might be Destin, Panama City. We'll have to see. But the good news is in either place, the system should not be extremely strong. 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm, as we'll see in a minute. Just still too much wind shear over the Gulf of Mexico, despite the warm waters. We'd normally see a rapidly intensifying tropical cyclone, and that's not going to be the case. Where's it going to go? These are the major hurricane models, all centered closely packed tightly on a landfall on the Florida Panhandle, there between Pensacola and Destin. European ensemble, kind of a little more all over the board there. One outlier takes it all the way to the central coast of Louisiana, got them all over Mississippi, New Orleans, Alabama, northwest Florida, some turning it even more quickly. But the mean coming right up through Pensacola Bay and right up the western side of Alabama. The GFS is a little more to the east this morning, a little more tightly centered. Both these models very reliable, but the mean of the GFS shows it somewhere around Pensacola too. So that may be where it goes. The good news is the intensity guidance is all fairly convinced. None of the guidance carries it to a hurricane. Everything has it as a tropical storm, and that's just fine. This is the NHC official track showing a landfall late tomorrow night. Early Tuesday morning, probably somewhere right there on the western Florida Panhandle, moving up into central Alabama during the day. On Tuesday, passing the I-20 corridor around sunset, and most of the weather will be to the east of it. Now, the cone of uncertainty indicates the average forecast track error of the National Hurricane Center at those periods, about 60% of that, and that gives you an estimation of where the center could be. Now, this is the center, not the impact of the storm. A lot of people misread that this cone is the areas that are going to be impacted by the weather. The impacts are going to be felt to the east of the center mainly. So if the center's over here near Panama City, main impacts are going to be parts of the Florida Panhandle, Tallahassee, southern Georgia. If the center comes in near Pensacola, it's going to be the western Florida Panhandle, south central Alabama, up into east central Alabama. Now, track more to the west toward Mobile would include more of central Alabama in the heavier rains and gusty winds. So we'll be watching that track very closely, but that is what the Hurricane Center is thinking at this time. The earliest reasonable arrival of tropical storm force winds, an important graphic. They could arrive on the Gulf Coast as soon as Monday morning at 8 o'clock, probably a little later than that, more like noon is probably the reasonable expectation, with this tropical storm force winds spreading up into south central Alabama Monday night into Tuesday. Now, storm surge won't be a significant issue, but 1 to 3 feet of storm surge all the way from the Mississippi-Louisiana border all the way to the Suwannee River in Florida. And so that's going to be, what we expect from storm surge. But all of this area will experience extremely dangerous riptide currents. Surf's going to be running 6 to 7 feet, and that's going to be too dangerous to be in the water. Heavy rainfall, as you would expect, mainly to the east of the center. Parts of Alabama picking up 1 to 2 inches. Areas, though, from about Heflin to Montgomery down to Evergreen and to the east could see 2 to 4 inches. Some heavier rains in the Florida Panhandle. The WPC expects the greatest flash flood risk over the next 3 days to be in that general area that we just talked about. And they have a slight risk, much like we have in the severe weather outlook, they have a slight risk of flash flooding. In that yellow shaded area, the green shaded areas have a marginal risk. And severe weather, speaking of severe weather, is in the possibilities tonight over the Florida Big Bend area, spreading up into the Florida Panhandle, southwestern Georgia, South Alabama, even into southwestern Mississippi tomorrow. Lots of instability. The increasing convergence ahead of the storm will lead to the development of bands of showers and thunderstorms, and any of those could produce tornadoes. That will be the main threat. Luckily, fortunately, they generally are the smaller variety, but you can get a significant tornado in there sometimes if you're not careful on a landfalling tropical cyclone. And with the timing of the day, the way it is, we could see more than average tomorrow. Now, we'll talk about Fred more in a minute, but let's look at Grace. Fred's cohort out there about 60 miles south of St. Croix this morning. That's where the center is. It's going to pass south of Puerto Rico. The official track carries it over Hispaniola along the north coast of Cuba, and just literally, it's almost in the same position that Fred has been all along its track, which would be good news, I suppose, because it probably would not be as strong. It is interesting to note that the GFS ensembles take a more southerly track. You can see they're all over the board. A more southerly track means probably a weaker system. A far southerly track, even though that's not indicated here, could be a stronger system. And of course, one like this member here that comes into the Gulf of Mexico could be a much stronger system. That's a Category 3 hurricane landfalling in southern Louisiana next week. This track right here, probably an outlier, but going toward Jacksonville. So you can see lots of possibilities on the board. This storm system could end up, I think it'll likely end up in the Gulf of Mexico. The GFS thinks here, the Hurricane Center thinks here, the WPC has it near southeastern Louisiana. Next weekend we could be doing this all over again. So, we'll just see. Plenty of time to watch. Short term, though, today, more showers and thunderstorms over Alabama. Trough to the northwest, higher precipitable water values over the state, and the increasing convergence provided by the approaching tropical storm. This is 6 p.m. today, showing scattered showers and thunderstorms across the area, and we'll expect a few of those to have very heavy rain, lots of lightning, and some gusty winds. So be on the listen for thunder, be on the lookout for developing cloud masses, because that could signify a thunderstorm developing in your area by tomorrow noon. This is the NAM. Just afternoon, showing the landfalling tropical cyclone there, western Florida Panhandle. Doesn't look like many showers and thunderstorms across Alabama, thanks to some subsidence ahead of the cyclone. But this is 2 a.m. on Tuesday morning, so after midnight tomorrow night, showing the storm, that core, heavy rain, some gusty winds there across south central Alabama, the Montgomery area, and that system is passing Birmingham around sunrise on Tuesday. That's a little faster than the Hurricane Center forecast, but one possibility there. And I think a really good possibility. That's what the radar will look like around 7 a.m. on Tuesday. Now, later on Tuesday, the system is pushing on up into the mountains of North Carolina. We switched over to the GFS because that seems to be what the Hurricane Center is locking on as a story. The center there moving into the Smokies, moving away from us. We should be drier on Tuesday, I think, after we get that system out of here Tuesday night. Wednesday looks drier. So morning storms on Tuesday, moving out to the northeast, and then improving weather during the day. As we go toward Thursday, new front moving in from the north. Showers and thunderstorms, more of a possibility for North Alabama. That front won't get through here, but it'll try to hang around into the day on Friday and into the day on Saturday. Now, Grace, I don't know if you've been kind of tracking what it's doing here. Let's go back to Wednesday. By that time, Grace is somewhere probably in the Western Caribbean, maybe near eastern Cuba. It's approaching the Gulf of Mexico here on Wednesday. And then by Thursday, that system slowly moving into the Gulf of Mexico, hardly moving at all. And the GFS is not really excited about moving into the Bay of Campeche here on the control, and probably moving on into Mexico. So where will that be? We don't know. Looks like we kind of dry out a little bit for Saturday. That's good news. Um, Weather looks like it's improving slightly. And I didn't put the temperatures on here, but the temperatures are fairly typical for summer. We're cooler on Tuesday because of the rain and storms. We'll be in the upper 80s today and tomorrow. Lower 80s on Tuesday. Then we go back to that fairly typical summertime regime. Regime 90 for daytime highs, overnight lows in the lower 70s. Now continue out through the end of the forecast period. Well, that's your weather video for this Sunday, August the 15th. I have the latest on the blog, of course, frequent updates on the progress of reorganizing Tropical Storm Fred over the Gulf of Mexico, heading for a landfall on the northern Gulf Coast on Monday, and its impacts into South and Central Alabama, as well as the impacts along the beautiful beaches of Alabama and Northwest Florida. We'll keep an eye on Grace as well, and update you on all the latest thunderstorm development today. And over the next couple of days as we deal with the severe weather threat. So for this Sunday, August 15th, as I always tell you, till I see you next week, keep an eye to the sky because you'll always have something fun to look at.